Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
This is episode 38 of Flixwatcher Pod. Say hi, Kobe.
Hi, Kobe.
The film today is Whiplash, and we are joined by Ed and Ben, 2 Shabba's team quiz members, but you can also find Ben as top film tip.
And if you want to hear more about us or read more about us online, come to our website, flixwatcher.tv, visit us and join in the banter with us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and head over to iTunes, subscribe to us, review us, and share with your friends. And as we always say, guys, all the films were available on Netflix at the time of recording. There is going to be bad language, there's going to be spoilers, and we hope you enjoy it.
Do you want a professional sounding podcast as professional as Flixwatcher Pod? If you do, we recommend that you check out GL Productions. They're responsible for editing and production. They're also going to give you a welcome package, 10% discount. If you're interested, email podcast@glpro.co.uk, send them the message that FlixWatcherPod sent you, and they'll give you 10% off your first package. Hello and welcome to this edition of Flixwatcher Podcast. Today we are joined by Ed and Ben. If you want to say hello, guys, introduce yourselves.
Hey, you right. I am Ed. I'm a cinephile who is on the film quiz team with everyone else here.
Hello.
The Bigger Boat film quiz.
Yeah, we are like about half
now, yeah.
half of Shabba's rollers around this table at the moment. And who are you?
I'm Ben. I have the account Top Film Tip on Twitter, and every day I put out little snappy synopsis to tip the best films on British TV. So for instance, for today's film Whiplash, my tip would be: obsessively driven jazz drummer forges himself in the unforgiving fires of egomaniacal conductor's precision perfectionism. Whiplash.
Looks a great summary. Not to take away from Ed's summary, which you're about to do now. Why did you pick this film, and what's it about?
So I picked this film because it hit me with quite a surprise. So I don't know about anyone else. I feel like jazz is a very personal, music in general is a very personal thing. But for me, it's chilled mornings with breakfast and coffee, or in a dark bar where it just kind of seems quite relaxing and thought-provoking, but not like this film. This film was like a car crash. It just hit you hard.
There is a car crash in there.
There is a car crash in it.
He like a car crash or a symbol to the face.
Yeah.
Or a chair being thrown at you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it stayed with me. I think so I saw this in the cinema, and 2 years later, it's just kind of stuck with me. Like, it was just really powerful. But as for what the film's about, on like the surface, it's the narrative's kind of dull. If I'm brutally honest, it's about a student at college who wants to be the best, not just the best that he can be, but the best, and his tumultuous relationship with a psychopathic teacher. But at the end of the day, it's a student at college, you know?
Yeah.
There's not really a journey, I don't think. I don't think anyone really develops. They kind of stay the same.
Well, it's quite interesting because that story could be applied to football. Well, if in America, it could be an American football story. It could be quite easily a sports story.
But there is drumming in it as well. I should add that. There's a lot of drumming.
Yeah,
there is. But I think there's another way of thinking about it, and it's not a story about the student as it is about the teacher. So if you swap who the protagonist is, because the reality is that the protagonist and antagonist are both horrible people. neither are likable in any way, shape, or form. So if you decide to look at it from someone else's eyes, it's a story about a teacher trying to develop like the next jazz great. And for me, that makes it a little bit more interesting.
That's a fascinating point, and I want to come back to that later on, because that relationship between Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons brings so many questions, particularly towards J.K. Simmons' motivations, which are a little bit murky. They're never quite clear, and to my mind, that there's some resolution towards the end. I think we should come back to that later.
We are going to discuss spoilers, aren't we?
Absolutely. I mean, talk about it now.
That was a fantastic description, Ed. And I mean, to my mind, I'd agree. This film on the surface has nothing I am interested in. I'm not a big muso. I don't have a special interest in jazz. I've never really played an instrument in my life. I don't care about 19-year-old kids going to college. There's nothing in this film that would make someone like me go, that's the film I want to watch. However, what comes under the surface of this film is it's transcendent in looking at somebody's drive and desire to succeed, about overcoming a bully and dealing and taking control of your life in the face of someone who just wants to destroy you from the inside out. And when you start thinking in those terms, everyone wants to succeed at what they do. Everyone has had a terrible personality clash at some point with someone in their life. It becomes more than the sum of its parts. It draws you in. You then start feeling for both the antagonist and the protagonist. You then get drawn into the music, which surprised me because I would have no interest in jazz.
The soundtrack's incredible. The two major songs, Whiplash and Caravan, I can listen to over and over.
This whole soundtrack I have on spot. It's one of the things I download on Spotify. Is just an awesome thing to put on at any time, whether I want to focus on it or whether I just want it in the background. And the whole soundtrack just really kind of works well for me, I think.
I had quite an interesting experience. Being that you can download films onto your SD card now from Netflix, I watched this in 2 sessions at the gym on an exercise bike, and my pulse was just sky high throughout. It's like 100-minute anxiety attack. This film is unrelenting and exhilarating all at once.
It has such a crazy pace, and yet it's really long and drawn out.
Would you say that it's your tempo?
I am definitely not going with that tempo.
I watched that. Yeah, I watched it. I saw it first time at the cinema, second time with Sarah, and she both times in that not quite my tempo scene. That is so tense, and it's
so
just
hard
not
to watch.
Absolutely, it's cringe. You have to. Very rarely do I feel the need to kind of hide behind a cushion. But that was one of those scenes where I've just kind of had to peek over a cushion. Is it still going? Is it still...
So interestingly, I watched this second time, like on Netflix. And there were times like that scene where I had to pause it and walk away and do something else for a couple of minutes and come back because my heart rate could not take it. I knew it was coming. I was like, I just need a minute. But this film was based on a short film, which is available online. I don't know if I should be saying that. It's not on Netflix, but... And the short film is just that scene.
The Not My Tempo scene?
The Not My Tempo scene.
Okay.
A few different actors. So it's not Miles Teller. I've seen the kid before. I don't know who it is. But it's still J.K. Simmons, like the guy who plays Tanner, the like core drummer, same guy.
Mm-hmm. Is the script the same?
It's, like word for word. It's even to the point where he screams at some point, I will fuck you like a pig. I was kind of surprised that wasn't the gut you like a pig, but... Yeah, same wording, and it's just
tense in that short.
You can take that scene out of the film and just have it by itself, and it is still brutal
without even any of the build-up, without any of the kind of
not as brutal.
Yeah,
like it does definitely benefit from a slightly different pacing, different lighting, from a build-up and having seen a few of the characters beforehand, but it even removed is still tense.
One of the things that's absolutely captivating about this film is J.K. Simmons, and what is truly fascinating about him is he is the scariest, most intimidating bad guy I can bring to mind, and he doesn't kill anybody. He doesn't murder anyone.
There's no contact in it. Well, there's no. I mean, there's threats of violence. He throws things across the room, but there's no real physical violence. But he is one of the most malicious, malevolent on-screen characters I can bring to mind.
So I completely agree. And at the same time, and I know this has been discussed in a previous episode of your podcast, but the best bad guys are the ones who vehemently believe they're in the right.
Yeah.
And I think he is one of those guys. So he is like, he throws out these disgusting homophobic slurs. He's a horrible human being.
Yeah.
I don't want to in any way defend him, but I like the fact that he believes in what he's doing. So
this is a point I really want to dig. I will really want to drill down on this.
So there is a story at the core that J.K. Simmons' character, Fletcher, describes, and that's the story of the creating of the Bird, Charlie Parker, the saxophonist, and the idea that he had a really bad session and had a cymbal thrown at his head, and it was that criticism, if you can call a cymbal thrown being a criticism, it was that forced him to practice harder and become better. And that's what he wants to do. I mean, he throws a chair. He kind of emulates this to the nth degree. He wants to be Joe Jones, the one that kind of created the Bird in his story.
He sees nothing wrong with his style of teaching.
No. And he thinks that if he can create the next great,
he'll have succeeded.
Then he succeeded. And it doesn't matter how many people he has broken along the way. If he has made one person amazing, then it's worked.
Now, this is a really fascinating point. I think this is the crux of the whole film. And for me, I think that is the lie he tells himself.
He believes it.
I don't think he does. I think he, in that final scene where he invites him on stage, he tells him this is the set list. He pretends to be his friend and he meets him in the bar and he says, I need a drummer. I'm going to do this big thing. All the best people are going to be there. He turns up. He says, all the best people in the jazz industry are here. And then he plays and he gets the whole band going on a tune that he doesn't know, specifically to make him look bad, specifically to ruin him and his career, and at a personal and professional level. And at that point, I realized that he is just a malicious bully. And I don't think from that point he actually, to my mind, it reveals him that he's not trying. He might say he's trying to make the best, but I think.
But is it up until that point before? Because he knows that Naaman, Miles Teller's character, he knows that he's responsible for him losing that job. So up until that point where I kind of agree what you're saying, but he's got almost in his point of validation for making Miles Teller look bad.
Has he?
But no, in his mind though, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying really does he have he, but before that, it could be construed as like, I want to make the best jazz ensemble and hopefully pull out the best jazz person ever. But when it becomes, right, this motherfucker got me sacked from doing this job where I think I had carte blanche to do, find the best musicians in the world, takes that from underneath him and it becomes a revenge story almost of like, I'm going to destroy you.
That acts the revenge, but everything else
is
before it. And
this is where it gets murky. And you're right, it's very murky. I wonder... And like in his mind, it's revenge, and in his mind, it's right. It's not. Let's be honest. It's not the right thing to do. But he wasn't killing his career because at this point, Naaman had given up hope of being a jazz drummer. So like he was working in a coffee shop.
This is a man. This is a man who will go on stage with his whole ensemble, with everything he's worked towards since being fired from his position, and ruin it to spite somebody else. He'll literally ruin his own reputation to spite somebody else.
That's where I think it's really murky, because he would, like, if his drummer screwed up so bad and then walked out and he doesn't have a backup, he's ruined his own reputation. He's ruined his own career. Would he do that? And then the point that Naaman comes back on stage and he starts playing and he brings it all up, and there's that ending with just the looks, and you go, has he succeeded? Has his disgusting, like really bullying technique, has it worked?
That's interesting.
What do you think? So he thinks that's his he's reached his zenith then.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I think it's
ambiguous.
left open, and I like that it was left open. But first off, was it as amazing a performance as we, the audience, thought, or did it look like a drummer going wild on stage? I don't know. But if it was as amazing as we're led to believe, did it validate all the bullying leading up to it?
He successfully created this jazz master through his technique.
What are your thoughts, Hannah? You've been quite on the quieter side, listening to Ben and Ed.
I think it's a masterpiece in filmmaking and performance. I mean, J.K. Simmons is phenomenal in this. He a record 47 awards he won for this role.
Oh wow!
Damn.
Yeah.
Was he supporting actor for the Oscars? Or
Yeah,
was he?
they would have. I think they're all in the supporting role. But I mean, his performance is amazing. But we shouldn't discredit Miles Teller, who probably will never ever be this good or in anything.
Has anyone seen
as
Bleed
good.
for this?
That was the
That
boxing
was the boxing
film.
one. Yeah. Is that good?
It's pretty good. It's not Whiplash,
But it's not Fantastic
but
Four.
It's oh dear Lord. I think we've already had the.
Poor Miles Teller. You were so good in this. They're both brilliant in it, and at no point do you not believe that he isn't fully invested in this. And what Ed said, I love that these two main characters are so unlikable. It's a film where you don't really want to root for either of them because they're not likable. They're self-centered, narcissistic. They've got no interest in anyone else. They just feel like society has wronged them for not being able to achieve,
not recognise their
they're
excellence, their brilliance.
Yeah, it's
Which,
brilliant.
The thing is, they're the only people that really recognise their brilliance. No one else that we see does. So you go, again, are they really as good as they think, or is it in their mind?
I think there's what is fascinating is I watched this on release. I think presumably around the same time as you did, Ed, and then I watched it again a few weeks ago. There's that, and I forgot what an absolute bastard Miles Teller is.
Oh,
He's horrible.
That's what I was thinking
To
because
his family, he's horrible to his
Yeah,
girlfriend.
the scene at dinner with his brother, is it his brothers or his
absolutely,
cousins?
yeah.
Cousins, but it could be anyone.
He just goes out of his way to try and belittle and rubbish their achievements rather than being friendly. There's that really horrible scene. I think it's kind of mirrored in La La Land as well, where he has that really awkward breakup, and he basically just says, "Oh, you don't really have any aspirations, and I'm fantastic, so I'm just going to resent you. So we should just break up now."
I think, to be honest, I think that was one of the best things he did, and in acknowledging the fact that he was going to be a bastard. If it continued, he would just be complete shit to her all the time. And I think that's a fair enough point. But things like
the delivery of it,
the delivery was poor. The dinner table scene was horrible. But there's all the kind of little looks he gives to himself, like when he's picked for Fletcher's band instead of the other guy, is the kind of like, yeah, of course it's me. I'm the Daddy Mac. And when it's the drum off between the three of them, and he kind of wins at the end, he's super smug about it, and he thinks he's the shit. And it's hard to get behind someone who thinks they are essentially God's gift. But it's hard to feel empathy for him.
And I think that's a testament to the writing and the direction, and particularly the actors, that it's very easy to make a film about likable characters, but it's very hard to make a film people like about unlikable roles.
I think it's a fair point.
So I have a question. He wins the core drumming spot by losing someone else's folder.
Yeah.
Do we think that it is as accidental as
No,
the
he
film
planted
makes
it.
out?
Or do you think he lost it?
I reckon that J.K. Simmons took it.
That was my feeling.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the feeling is J.K. Simmons took it in order to give him the role.
To teach the other drummer a lesson and to see how he'd react to it, because he could own up and say, "It was me, I lost it, it's my fault, I take responsibility." Whereas he fully lets him get the shit.
I think
he gets rid of him, and he doesn't at any point go, actually I was given responsibility of that and I let it out of my sight. He's more than happy to see it go.
I think this plays back into what we were talking about earlier with, is he genuinely trying to make the best jazz musicians in the world, or is he just a malicious bully? And I think if you look at some of these little details where it gets personal, where I don't think the character is actually homophobic, but if he knows someone's gay, then that's the thing he's gonna go for. If he sees someone's a bit fat, that's the thing he's gonna go for. He just gets personal, and then he if he was just pushing people, that would be one thing. But it's the nice side. It's the side when
That's his technique for teaching, though.
So that was
he
like-
believes
Builds
you've
people
got to
up.
be cruel.
he
to get
builds
them to that
people
level.
up and then crushes them.
It was perfect when Naaman first comes to the core band. So I can't remember what the ensemble's called.
Studio.
And the studio. And it's the break, and Naaman's just there at the start. He's turning the pages, and he says, "Okay, after the break, you'll be up." And he has a little chat with him. So just tell me about your parents. Yeah, my mum left. This, that, and the other, and then that plays right into his hands for the rest of the film.
Yeah, all the way through to the end.
It was brutal, just deliberately working out ways to screw with you afterwards.
Yeah.
Build you up to tear you down. So there's another documentary on Netflix. There are quite a few good documentaries on Netflix. But I watched one called 20 Feet from Stardom about backing singers.
I love that film. I think it's absolutely outstanding.
So one thing that hit me while watching that, there was one backing singer who was singing for Ray Charles.
Right.
And she tells a story about how she got something wrong on stage and he had a massive go playing the note that she was supposed to hit over and over in front of like thousands of people. And I was like, so that kind of teaching technique is used.
Yeah.
That's not just J.K. Simmons'
Yeah,
character
but was
being a
Ray
dick.
Charles doing that to benefit this backing singer or to just crush her because he was pissed off?
So
To make her never do it again.
that's the question. Is J.K. Simmons doing it to make someone better? Or is he doing it because he's a dickhead?
Once that's happened to you, you're never going to do that again because that will be in your
I mean,
mind.
it doesn't make it right. I'm not saying that
I'm not
technique
excusing it, but
is-
that's, it's this kind of teaching in this kind of arena is not uncommon.
Let's jump.
It's horrible.
Let's jump to the very final moment. The look between the two on stage. Is that a look from J.K. Simmons of approval? Like, you have now met my expectation. I now see that I have done my job well, or is it okay? Well, you're here now. You're doing it. Okay, let's carry on. And to my mind, that the look back from Miles Teller is, I no longer need to meet your expectation to feel validated.
I think that's a look from Miles Teller, but I think the look from J.K. Simmons is more,
It's on.
oh shit, I like this. Now that Doggy's got some bites, let's actually do this properly now. And I think he would have been perfectly happy for Miles Teller to cry off, but I think now it's
on.
it's on, and it's actually
It's a game.
yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not contemporaries, but at least it's more of an equal footing to master and
it's no longer teacher student.
Yeah.
It's now conductor and drummer.
yeah.
They're kind of not quite equal, but they're more equal.
I think it's interesting because people assume professionals are friends. So I remember reading about Penn and Teller.
Are they not friends?
Penn and Teller apparently don't spend any social time together. They do their work stuff, they do their shows and they practice and stuff, but then each goes off to their own family and they do their own thing. So they come together and have a professional relationship where there is like a real camaraderie and a
Kinship.
and a kinship. You're right, but then personally they have no goings on together. And I think everyone probably has similar relationships at work. There's some people you get on with, some people you don't, but you can put you just get in and you have a professional relationship. And I imagine perhaps that's what happens with these guys after the film, is that they no longer ever really want to spend any time together, but they know they can rely on each other to be the best in the jazz environment.
Yeah, that maybe, but maybe they are just both dickheads and are just trying to ruin the other one.
What
You know?
happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object?
J.K. Simmons, Helen, just generally, what are your thoughts on him as an actor?
Oh, he's great. He's often the best thing in a lot of films.
Yeah, I think in the first time I saw him was the first Spider-Man where he played J.J. Jameson, wasn't he? He's got a fantastic patter, hasn't he?
He has, and also, I mean, he's fantastic in this, but he's also absolutely brilliant as the dad in Juno.
Yes.
Where he's the
Yes.
sweetest,
Yes, I
kindest,
completely forgot about him in
loveliest
Juno,
father.
yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen that.
That is the brilliance of him, that he can play this
Monster.
and then yet play the nicest human being as well. So his range is brilliant.
Yeah.
And in each film, he is different.
Wasn't he a neo-Nazi in Oz?
Yeah, he played a horrific character in Oz.
I remember
Wow.
an anal branding. Was
Yes.
that him?
Yeah.
I haven't thought of Oz in a very long time. That's a great
So
point.
Oz was one of the proto new wave TV shows
HBO.
The
where
first
Yeah.
HBO
Yeah.
show was, I think.
set in the prison where he played. Yeah, he was a leader of the Aryan Nazi guys.
I watched that directly after Juno, and that threw me for six.
Also, I'd like to point out the dad in this is Burke from Alien.
Yes.
Aliens.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So
I can't remember.
here he is.
So I think J.K. Simmons is. What's he been in since? Because he obviously his stock price has gone up since this, didn't it?
The Accountant he was in recently with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, wasn't so keen on watching that.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Wasn't
he's-
terrible.
It wasn't terrible. It wasn't. I mean, it's never going to be like remembered as a great film, but it was an okay watch. He's going to be Commissioner Gordon
Yeah, I can see that. I can see
Yeah.
that,
in the new Justice League.
and it'll probably be the best thing in the
Yeah.
DC universe once he's in it.
I think that's a fair bet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller beforehand, he was in. He's a talented. Did he learn to play the drums just for this role?
He
He
had
knew.
played drums previously. Yeah.
Okay.
He said
he had a
not
small
to a
role
great
in La
level.
La Land.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons was reprising basically his
yeah.
role in La La Land.
Maybe. Do you think that's what happens to him after Whiplash? He goes to LA and starts a little jazz club where he just makes people just tries to crush jazz musicians by making them play Christmas music.
Are
Well, that's
you-
what he did. Have you not seen La La Land?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Are we just trying to create a cinematic universe here?
There's a cinematic universe going on in.
I mean, speaking of La La Land, this in comparison is.
I mean, you
I
have
can't
to.
believe he made this and then made La La Land
It's
because
Damon Chazelle.
What I find really interesting about that is he did a roundtable talk for the Hollywood Reporter, and he discussed that this was the film that he wanted to make.
Yeah.
Sorry, not this one. La La Land was the film that he wanted to make, but he could not sell it to anyone in Hollywood. They wouldn't give a crap about
No interest in jazz.
no interest in a musical.
In that kind of, yeah.
But selling Whiplash was a lot easier. So after Whiplash, he was then given carte blanche to make whatever he wanted, and he went back to his really personal project of La La Land. But this one feels a lot more.
there's so much energy in this, and apparently this was shot in 19 days, and it
Wow.
Really?
feels
You can
that
feel that.
urgent.
Yeah.
And the script, the way it's shot, the editing, the sound, the acting, the pace, everything about it is just off the charts. And when you compare it to the average film that La La Land is, it's just, this is dazzling.
It's kind of interesting because, yeah, like I said, this kind of relationship would typically be a sports film.
Yeah.
And when I first saw this in the cinema, when I first saw the trailer in the cinema, I had no idea what it was about. Didn't look that interesting to me. But a lot of film journalists I respect said this film is absolutely outstanding.
Basically, everyone who saw it just said, you just have
need
to see it. It's
and
phenomenal.
I was like, okay. Sometimes you go in there with that expected kind of view of a film, and you don't want it to live up to it. But it was just from the start, from the off, that face off with him in the practice room from the start set the tone through to the end where.
Even just the way that it presents music on film is so fresh and exciting. It could have been so easy, really dull and boring. It could just have been a guy shouting at someone who's playing the drums, but it's not that. The way it's cut, the way it's timed, the way it's lit. I mean, there's no way that there'd be a real studio that would be that dark.
No.
It was
So
really
it's-
well lit, wasn't it? It was
Every
beautiful.
detail is completely considered, thought, and precise, right down to the blisters, the blood on the drumsticks. It could
Blood,
easily.
sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
It feels
that
so
scene,
real.
That scene when the three drummers were facing off against each other, I've never felt more exhausted for anyone.
And then they hit, okay, we're starting, and you look at the clock and it's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Damn.
And underneath it all, I think the thing for me is it felt like there was a commonality a relatability to this film, not specifically for the jazz, not specifically for the college experience, but for achieving and for overcoming a bully.
Yeah.
For ambition, I think.
And I think everyone can relate at some level to
It's
that experience.
It's interesting that you mentioned it's like sports films
Mm.
because
It is
there's
like a sports film.
yeah, it really is. There's an idea that if you want to be an elite athlete, you have to put at least 5,000 hours of practice into what you want to do. That was
The
And it has
10,000
to be
hours.
10,000.
physical.
sorry,
and you
10,000
have to have
hours.
the
Yeah.
brain.
the Malcolm Gladwell theory, and you go, how does anyone stay motivated to put in that much time? And it's that weird motivation that they've got that they can keep swapping, and despite the fact their hands are bleeding
Mm.
and they are sweating and they are crying and they're being bullied, they still love what they do enough to keep going.
Is it popcorn time?
I think it is. Scores and some popcorn. So we have from Popcorn Shed one of their secret family recipes, and this is the salted caramel one that they've got here. Just as a preference, are we salty or sweet fans for normal popcorn preference?
That really works.
Yeah, I'm a sweet fan.
I'm a salt and savoury fan, but this is chocolate in it as well. I'm intrigued.
So this is Sam and Laura. So it's a independent popcorn. They won a Great Taste Award last year. I particularly like the packaging that they've got here. It's a little cute shed. We'll have some pictures of it on our Twitter, but there might not be any pictures of the popcorn left because it is delicious.
All the popcorn's going to go in my mouth right now.
This is great for your ears, guys. So you're enjoying it as much as we are.
Does this sound great to you guys?
I realise 4 people not talking on air doesn't make for great radio, but it's for good cause. This is really delicious.
So you can find Popcorn Shed online at popcornshed.com.
They've also got a really good Instagram as well.
Yeah.
They're very visual. So it's really nice to see them with some nice design and nice visuals.
I know actually the designer that made their website and made the packaging and stuff like that. So it's all... Hi, Kelly from White Bear Studios. Super cool. Ben's taking a little picture now. Is that you going to take it home to the kids? Or just for you so you remember it?
Just for top film tip.
Excuse us while we eat popcorn. So then, go to some scores.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Okay, guys, and it's time for the scores here this episode with Whiplash. And Ed, it was your choice of film. So let's talk about, your recommendability score.
So this is quite interesting because I want to say a 5. I came out of watching this at the cinema and I told everyone to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, and they missed it and I went, it'll be on at Prince Charles, catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people did until it came on Netflix. People were just like, I don't have time to go to the cinema. But once it was on Netflix, that they did. I recommend it to my parents.
Right.
They did not enjoy it.
Bit sweary.
Yeah.
I think they couldn't relate to either character because, as we've said, neither character is likable. You've got a pretentious young guy and an older bully. Like, neither one is likable in any way, shape, or form. So they didn't like it at all.
And I guess it doesn't have a happy ending either. So there's no resolution for anyone.
Yeah. And I wonder if them not liking it has made me think that maybe it shouldn't be recommended to everyone. But I just want to.
Go with your heart. Go with your heart.
I would recommend it to everyone. And if they don't like it, then sucks to be you, really. That's getting a 5.
Ben.
Posing for photos.
Posing
with
for
popcorn.
photos whilst eating popcorn and giving scores. Recommendability. This is a tricky one. I have a universal love of film, and I think all films should have some relatability to everyone. I don't think this is a film everybody would love. It's quite abrasive. It's emotionally exhausting, but at the same time, it is, I think, as Helen said, it's a masterclass. It is a masterpiece. It is really a really tremendous piece of filmmaking. I'm going to say a 4.
4 and Helen.
5. If I could give this film more than 5, I would. I don't care that there might be people who might not like it. If you haven't seen this film, you have to see it, and you can decide whether you like it or not. But
I think you have to take that chance, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's so good. It really is across all the levels: the acting, the direction, the script. Even if you come out of it and you really, really don't get on with it, you'll probably still have a complete roller coaster of a film experience. Even if you come out hating it, then it just will have brought out that much hate in you. It's such an experience that you just have to watch it.
It's got Oscars, right?
It got Oscars for editing, sound, and supporting.
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
I know what, sorry?
You would say those are valid? There's no...
Oh, God, yeah. He should have won director for this, not La La Land.
I'd agree.
He gave her the wrong film Oscars.
Well, I can't remember what else was up for Oscar this year. Well, who won the Oscar this year, do you know? Do some research while I give my score.
Moonlight won Best Picture, but he won
No, this
director.
year, sorry, the same year that Whiplash was out.
Oh, this was the year of Boyhood and...
Did Boyhood win Best Film?
Can't remember now.
People, look up your Google.
It made me laugh on when the BBC News headline this year was wrong film awarded Best Film Award at Oscars. I was like, doesn't that happen every year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this year, I mean, just to digress slightly, I think Moonlight was the best film and should have won. Although I haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge. That's the only one I haven't seen. But of the films I saw, I think Moonlight was the clear winner for me. I'm going to give this a 4. I think it's visceral without being like a visceral confrontational without being actual full contact. And I think sometimes the language that J.K. Simmons' character Fletcher pulls out, I just think I'm thinking of my parents. When you said your parents, I think my parents' kind of generation would kind of almost just stop the film and think, this is not for me. There's no need to be this kind of person.
It's strange. The age in the cinema when I was watching it, I was the youngest by far.
Right.
And there were a lot of middle-aged to elderly people in that cinema. Maybe it was the jazz that made, people think that it's going to be a lot calmer than it actually was. I don't know, but
Back to the Oscars.
Yeah.
It was, you wait for films about drumming to come along and then 2 come along.
Birdman.
Yeah. The other film about drumming won Best Picture.
Okay. I really enjoyed Birdman. I need to watch that again, actually. I haven't seen it again since the cinema.
Invisible editing.
It must have won that one for best cinematography as well. Don't worry about checking it up. So, repeat viewing score, Ed.
So, I watched this again in preparation for this podcast.
So it's your second time,
This
is
is
it?
my second time. So I have watched it again. 2 years, I think it's a long enough break. I'm not going to be watching this with any regularity. It's a little bit too intense, but I will watch it again.
Yeah.
If a friend hasn't seen it, I'll be like, right, we're sitting down and watching it. There's, it's not something you want to watch regularly. It's not a fun film in any way, but I would definitely watch it again. I'm giving it a 3.5.
All right. Ben.
I feel that there should be a health warning associated with this film. That if you watch it too frequently, if you watch it too frequently, it could have some very dangerous effects on your mental and physical health. It is abrasive, to say the least. On that ground, whilst I would watch this again and again and again, I would need quite a space between.
Oh, really? Is that affecting for you, do you reckon?
Yeah, it's a powerful film. It's a hard watch. It's very emotionally engaging.
So on a scale of like Black Mirror, where we've both talked before about how, well, I needed like almost a week in between
You
each
can't
episode.
binge watch Black Mirror.
No. But you can't watch this just on repeat again.
No, I think I'd have to give this one at least a couple of years.
Also, maybe
watches.
not at the gym again.
Yeah. Well,
Could do yourself some damage.
Yeah. It got my heart rate up going. I think there could be something in that. Watching horror films at the gym, artificial 20% boost to your heart rate. I could be something in that. I'm going to say a 3.5.
All right. 3.5 as well. Helen?
I'm going to give it a 5. I think it's brilliant. I saw it at the cinema when it came out and noticed that obviously it was on Netflix. And then obviously when Ed picked it, I was like, yes, I really want to see this again. I'd quite happily watch it again this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think lends to repeat viewing quite well.
It's a tight film. It's not so. It doesn't overstay its welcome.
It doesn't feel. I mean, it's an hour and 47. It doesn't feel that long, and there's just so many little details about it that you can notice sort of the second time round, and the energy of it is just. I just think it's amazing, and I don't think he's going to do any better, director.
Okay.
Wow.
I think
your peak.
Yeah, and how old is he? He's like 36.
I know,
isn't he?
this is it. It's sickening
Bastard.
that he's that young, but
It reminds me a little bit. I remember, I don't know if it's true or not, but a story about an interview with Joseph Heller, and someone said to him, "So you haven't ever written a book it's better than Catch 22 since Catch 22, and he went, yeah, that's true, but neither is anyone else. And I think it could be a case. It could be a case that no one else will make a film that's quite like this again.
No, I mean, for this to be your first film, I mean, you think of people like Scorsese, like their kind of like second and third films were like their best, but this is just dazzling to have this as your first feature film. Sickening the amount of talent in this film.
I'm going to go for a 4. I think more than Ed and Ben, I think I'll watch it again. I didn't feel, maybe I wasn't so as emotionally invested or feel that it drained me as much as an episode of Black Mirror would do. And I think slightly to its detriment in the engagement score, I think because I really do like the soundtrack, I could potentially have it on whilst doing other things and tune in to some of the more key parts of the story. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4. Small screen score. Ed?
This one's tough. I don't think it loses anything by being on the small screen. We all saw it at the cinema,
didn't we? Yeah.
And that was amazing. But I don't think watching it on a TV necessarily took anything away. I mean, you watched it on a tablet?
I watched it on a tablet at the gym.
I don't think, I don't want to say that it would necessarily be better small screen. I don't think anything is better. Like, I think the cinematic experience is the way it should be watched, but I don't think it really lost much. So I'm going a 5.
Okay. Ben?
Yeah, this worked for me. I agree. I think I preferred it in the cinema, but at the same time, this was a nice way of watching an exhilarating film at the gym without the levels of nudity and violence that normally get me thrown out.
Well, that's before you start watching the film.
What does that relate to? How do you score that?
I think I'd give this a 5, to be honest. I think it works well, and it kind of has a personal feel.
Yeah. Helen?
I'm going to give it a 4.5 just because I did enjoy seeing it at the cinema, but it don't watch it on a tablet if you haven't seen it before. Watch it on the biggest screen that you can and with the sound turned up really loud. And get yourself really put all the distractions away, sit down.
Because if you're going to watch it with a tablet, you need some headphones and ideally decent headphones. You don't want to just listen to you don't want to rely on the speakers that your iPad or whatever's dealing with.
Start watching films on tablets.
It's a film that deserves good sound.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for same as Helen actually, 4.5, and I agree with Ed that I don't think it actually necessarily loses much, but I think until I can get an amazing kind of Dolby Atmos system in my house, then it's going to lose out on the sound system. But I don't feel the benefit. I don't think there was much benefit of a shared experience in the cinema. I don't think we needed to be with other people. I think I could watch this with myself or a couple of other people and still get the same vibe out of it. Engagement score.
So, in a way that's different to intended, I did pull away, but not because
it was
too
too
intense.
Boring
me. But for the opposite, I needed to just kind of... Maybe it's because I knew what was coming. I'd seen it before, and I knew the scenes that were going to get difficult. I knew the scenes where the bullying was just...
The not my tempo scene.
There were a few others where he's just... Not that he's ever on a nice level, but when he kind of pushes it way too far. So I guess that's the thing with having Netflix is you have that ability. But I was never bored. At no point was I bored, and so I'd probably give it a 5.
Ben,
I think this covered me for 2 good solid sessions, and I didn't really have the choice of getting away, but I didn't really want to, and it kept me going. And the reason I watch films at the gym is because I hate going to the gym, and I need something that will keep me there. Best exercise is the exercise you can roll out of bed and do in the morning, and all I want to do is roll out of bed and watch films all day. So this kept me at the gym. It kept me powering through. There were a few moments, kind of, it's a little bit, the pace kind of slows down a little bit between the more intense scenes, but otherwise, I'm going to 4.5.
Helen?
I'm going to give it a 5. It demands your attention, I think, anyway, and you've got to really go into this film, like put your phone away, have everything you need so that you can really go in for the experience. I think I probably did check to who the dad was, so I did look to see that briefly. But the first time I watched it, I was absolutely captivated. And, you know, I'm going to watch it again and fully immerse myself in it because I think it's just a great experience.
I think I'm going to give it a 4 based on the fact I will watch it again, but I don't think I'll be...
You might be more just having it on for the soundtrack.
having it on for the soundtrack and dipping
bits.
in when it's when it gets to the fun bits. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. So that gives us an overall score of 4.5, which is
Pretty
hefty.
high.
I can't remember the last time I had a discussion about a film that was this sycophantic. I'm sure I don't think I've ever watched a film where I haven't gone, yeah, but there was that, you know, that I didn't like that part, and there was maybe this. I can't think of a single thing about this film that I don't like.
Honestly think it is a perfect film, and it is an example of, you know, masterclass in cinema.
You can think of this. A lot of films you could watch and go, well, they didn't need that scene, or they could have done with this. This is a film where anything added or anything taken away would have detracted. It's the apex. It's the pinnacle.
That is a great summarization of it.
And a great way to finish. Ed and Ben, give us a shout out to yourselves. Where can we find you online on the Twitters?
I'm on Twitter at Corrigan90. I'm not really on there much, but if you want to drop me a line and tell me what you thought, then by all means.
You can find me at Top Film Tip on Twitter.
And we'll point to you guys in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks
See
for
you
having us
soon.
on.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. We had a lot of fun doing it. Please do check out all the details in the show notes to find out all the details about our guests, where to find them on Twitter, where to find their website, where to harass them. Don't harass them because they're very nice people. Thank you very much to our editors as always. Toby is the main guy who helms and carves our voices, and also hellos to Tony, Jay and Greg and everyone else at Geo Productions who we haven't met yet. Of course, please big up Mighty People for the tunes you can hear now. And at the start of the podcast, please don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and visit our website, flixwatcher.tv.